the Honda Insider Report on the NHL playoffs, and a guy who I've known for quite some time from back in the day when we used to work together in Bristol, Connecticut. The television analyst for the NHL Network, Darren Pang, back here on the Rich Eisen. How you been, Darren?
Rich, I've been fantastic, my friend. It's been a long time, and I'm glad we get a chance to talk a little hockey here, bud.
All right, Darren. Treat me as a Washington Caps fan. I just come into your office. You cross your legs, and you look down at your pad, and you take out your pencil, and I lie down on the couch, and I pour out my heart. What can you tell me, Darren, about this franchise?
I can tell you that as a Capital fan, you saw an awful lot of really good things with a guy like Barakowski, who moved up to that top line for a couple of games and showed that he's a top six forward, whereas prior to this playoff, you thought that he might be a bottom six. That Johansson and Kuznetsov, when he wants to turn it on, there's some really good parts here. I thought Jay Beagle and the Winnick line with Tom Wilson had a really, really great year. I've seen so many teams go through what the Washington Capitals are going through, and the easy thing to say is, let's blow it up. Well, you can't just blow things up. You've got your nucleus of players, which are very, very good players, and you have to decide now where you're going with some UFAs. Justin Williams is a UFA. Maybe his ride in Washington has ended, and you've got to get more speed on that wing. TJ Oshie's a UFA, and I know he loved it there. And maybe you want to consider re-signing TJ, because I think he's a big part, and I think he played his heart out in that playoff series. You're going to lose a guy like Karl Alzner, maybe a guy like Brooks Orpik. Well, let's move that D and go forward, and maybe have a little bit more transition there. But listen, this is it's a tough one to sell, Rich. But they've done so many really, really good things there, and they lost to the defending Stanley Cup champions. And sometimes that medicine's a hard medicine to accept. But I don't blow up the Washington Capitals. No chance. They've been way too good to be a team to blow up.
How much blame falls on the shoulders of Ovechkin, Darren?
I find it. Listen, I find it hard and difficult to single out one player when we talk about this being a team sport forever. He's number one. He's a winger. He's not a centerman. A lot of times when a centerman is faulty, or a centerman doesn't come up big in big times, it's because they're not winning faceoffs. They're not, they're not distributing. More pressure is on the centerman than it is on the winger. But it's quite clear that Ovechkin on this team now is not a top go-to guy. It's hard to say because of what he's done in his career. But they were better with Burakovsky, Backstrom, and Oshie as their top line than they were with Ovechkin, Backstrom, and Oshie. So hard decisions get made, but I don't throw any of the heat just on Ovechkin. The same way you could say, well, Braden Holtby wasn't as good as Marc-Andre Fleury. I think these are experiences for Braden Holtby, and he'll get better throughout this experience that he's had. I think Ovechkin is what he is, Rich. I think this is exactly the kind of player that you see every night. He's a really good, hard-nosed player. He actually forechecks pretty hard. When he gets a chance with the puck on his stick, he is dangerous, but it's the playoffs. It's not like you get all the opportunity with the puck on your stick. I wasn't impressed with Ovechkin throughout the playoffs, but I think that's the kind of player that he is, that you can't expect him to score goals in the playoffs. It's just too difficult, but you have to expect him to do the other things right to get your team over the hump. And at the end of the day, obviously he wasn't good enough, but there was a few other guys that just weren't as good as they should have to get over that hump.
NHL Network's Darren Pang joining me here on the Honda Insider Report after a couple of Game 7s, one in which Washington's Game 7 bugaboo continues, and the Ducks finally got a monkey off their backs last night against a very young, hot Edmonton team. Which is the best team still left in the playoffs, Darren, with the Caps having had that mantle going in as the best team in the playoffs?
Yeah, I had Washington to win it all this year, Rich, so obviously, just on a personal note, at the very beginning of the year, in the beginning of the playoffs, I still had Washington getting through this. Pittsburgh's the defending Cup champions. They're impressive. I think with the D-core that they have, Rich, I didn't think that unit was going to be strong enough to get through Washington, and obviously they've proved me completely wrong there. They continue to find a way to get it done. To me, Anaheim is the toughest of the teams left over. People are forgetting Nashville. They just went through Chicago in 4. They went through St. Louis in 6. They've had a few days off. That rest is going to be vital. As far as momentum and rest and all things considered, I got to tell you, I think Nashville is right up there as a top contender right now.
Nashville. I mean, look.
How do you like that?
Well, I mean, the 8 seed, I mean, what they did to Chicago might be one of the more surprising playoff performances in any sport that we've seen in the last several years, Darren. I mean, they almost shut them out completely. So you can't discount them, an 8 seed doing what they've done so far. Well,
you really can't. And you look at their defense right now, are to me, they're the best group in the NHL. They're top 4. Roman Josi with Ryan Ellis, Matthias Ekholm with PK Subban, and then even the third pairing of Matty Irwin and Yannick Weber. They get the puck up the ice. They do their job. That they get. I think they had 157 or 160 points in the regular season just from their defensemen. They've continued that on in the playoffs. Peter Laviolette is an experienced coach that's won, and he encourages that defense to get up in the play. I'm telling you, they were magnificent against the St. Louis Blues and Chicago. So I just wouldn't underestimate them. I think maybe the one thing that Anaheim has that I don't think anybody has what Anaheim has, and that is Ryan Getzlaf as your main guy and Ryan Kessler as your number 2 guy. He hounded Connor McDavid and did a great job of it, and he can skate. He gets around the ice. So that's where Anaheim's going to have the strength, in my opinion, over Nashville. But I think Nashville's got that offensive dynamic from the blue line, and their goaltender, to me, Pekka Rinne's playing his best. So that's why listen, maybe because I watched every bit of the games and I was up live in person with the Nashville-St. Louis series, but right now I like Nashville in the West in a very tough series against Anaheim.
Well, I mean, they have the Carrie Underwood effect, too. Let's not forget that, Darren. I mean,
they've got stars after stars singing the national anthem in Nashville. That's got to mean something.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, not since, I don't know, you might know better than me. Maybe not since, Janet Jones-Gretzky have we seen an intangible quite like this in the playoffs,
Right.
Darren.
That's right. They'll pull out all the stops. Trust me, in Nashville. I asked some of the players on the Blues what the buildings were like. Minnesota was incredibly loud. They're great fans there. We all know at the United Center in Chicago, Rich, that's as fun as it gets. But they said that Nashville, in that 6-game series, was louder and more enthusiastic than any building that they'd been in.
Well,
so that was a handful of Blues players in a really hard 6-game series. So that's the 7th man. That's a factor for Nashville. I think that's a team right now that's destined to go places.
Well, I mean, look, you could definitely feel it through the television set. So based on what you're saying, Darren Pang, Nashville versus Pittsburgh with the Penguins maybe repeating? Is that what you're seeing right now?
Yeah, that's a matchup that I see right now, and it's hard to believe I'm going against Anaheim because of just the experience that they have. But I'm leaning towards just instincts, and my instincts are the way that Nashville is playing, the way that Peter Laviolette changes things. He's got a lot of different game plans. So, yeah, I right now I like Pittsburgh and Nashville. And here I am going on your show talking hockey, and I'm from Ottawa. And so I'm excited to go. I'm going to go to Ottawa and do some Westwood One radio in that series. But I'm going against my hometown Ottawa Senators, and I'm leaning towards Pittsburgh and Nashville in the final.
Do you remember our days in the Bristol building? I guess Building 1, Bill Pito, me, you. Because I think you and Billy would be saddling up on NHL Tonight, and I would be doing the intermission reports for whatever game was leading into it, Darren.
And there's a developing situation from Billy Pito.
You take care, Darren. Good chatting with you.
Rich, thanks for having me on. Take care,
got it. That's Darren Pang of the NHL Network, part of the Honda Insider Report.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.
If you like that, please download our app. There's lots of fun things there other than just more of the videos you just saw. You can call us from the app. You can email us from the app. Just download it. Trust me, you'll enjoy it.